I'm Holly.
I'm Leslie.
And we would be dead. Leslie.
Hey, Holly.
Hey, Fiends. Welcome back to another True Crime TLDR. For those of you who don't remember, these are our shorter episodes wherein we summarize something we all kind of should know, but maybe forgot to watch or read. Now, I'm sure by now a lot of you have actually seen the Netflix documentary, Tell Them You Love Me. It details the frightening and unusual case of Anna Stubblefield and Derrick Johnson. I know this documentary was discussed in our Facebook group a bunch, and we all had a lot to say about it. So I figured we should review the facts for anybody who felt a little left out.
That was me, initially.
Oh, boy. It's not you now, is it?
Now, no.
No, you watched it.
I did.
More than once, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I know I went through it twice, and I was surprised.
Well, I watched it 1.5 times because I had like 20 minutes left, and then I was going to finish it, but then my mother-in-law was like, "What do you want to watch?" And I was like, "Well, I have time. You want to start from the beginning?"
What did she think?
She was also like, "Whoa."
Okay. Margie was also left astounded by it.
Astounded, yeah.
Yeah. But watching this infuriating documentary back to back and sometimes in slow motion can really take a toll on one's appearance.
Sure.
It's a lot of grimacing, a lot of eyebrow wrinkling. Now, I've tried everything to bring back my complexion, but nothing seems to be working.
Oh, no.
You know? However, I have heard of one magical ingredient that may have the solution to all of our grimacing problems. Sure. Just a little pinch of...
brownies.
No! That was a good try.
It wasn't. It's not brownies.
That magical ingredient is just a little pinch of...
validation. A hill worth dying on.
Glad you were easy on us this week. We've been through so much. And best of all, our fiends can give us that precious ingredient totally free of charge.
You're kidding. How?
But how? You must be asking yourself, and I'm not kidding.
Oh.
Well, I will tell you. Simply head on over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and or a friendly review. It really is the only way to move this podcast forward. Ratings and reviews equal attention, attention equals support, and support equals more and better content for all of you. But if you just can't wait for more We Would Be Dead in your life, don't worry, you don't have to. You can support us over on Patreon. Mild energy you're bringing this week. It's nice. There, for just a few dollars a month, you will gain access to our entire catalog of 30-minute horror movies, which we just got a suggestion for.
Oh, yes, we did.
Yeah, somebody sent us a mermaid horror movie.
Yeah, from Poland.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to play mermaids with us, let us know.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty fun. You will also get access to our special minisodes, our weekly after show Host Mortem, which is available in both video and audio formats. Maybe you want to see our faces. Maybe you don't. Both are okay. But see our faces. Why not, right?
Sure.
It's extra. You'll also get a special gift in the mail from us, the opportunity to participate in giveaways, some merch deals, an on-air toast dedicated just to you, and more. Woo. So fun. We also have more exclusive content in the works for you, our very beloved patrons. But if you have anything you'd like to see, never hesitate to let us know. We want your requests.
Yeah.
Want to hear us read something, talk about something, do something? You want to talk to us about something? Tell us. Don't be quiet. Don't be shy.
Don't be quiet.
Oh, come on. Tell us what you want to hear. In all honesty, we are here thanks to our patrons, so come over and be part of the We Would Be Dead family. And if all of that is a little too much for you.
Sometimes, yeah.
Like you are shy.
Yeah.
Can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can simply follow us over on social media. You don't have to say anything there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can just click and scroll. We are at Would Be Dead Pod anywhere and everywhere you get your content. You can like our posts, share our posts, like, and share our posts.
Ooh, yeah.
That's our favorite. Leave us a comment. Engagement is very important. Post about your favorite episode. We want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know when you're listening. Tell a friend. Tell a neighbor. Tell your favorite shero.
Oh.
Don't worry, you guys will get that later.
How about
what's her name?
Elle Woods.
No, we don't have Elle Woods in our neighborhood. Get out of here, Leslie.
She's right down the street.
No, she isn't.
Yes, she is.
No.
She's living with like Ellen Ripley, and it's great. They're just hanging out, being chicks,
maybe just
making sourdough bread.
Maybe just Ellen then. That's good. That could be Elle, and it's Ellen Ripley.
Okay, sure.
We can't put fictional characters in our next level fictional neighborhood. That's too meta. I can't handle it.
Fine.
Then we could also put like Spider-Man in there or something. I don't know what to do.
It'll just be Elle.
Just Elle. Okay. And you can interpret that however you want.
Sure.
Could be anybody. You know? You don't know.
Or you do. I don't know.
You know.
I do.
Yeah.
I know who it is.
You just keep it right up there in
the L's.
Right up there in the old melon.
Yeah.
Okay. Then your friends and Elle can become fiends and we can all hang out together.
Exciting.
Better wear something cute.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's all I have before we get into this infuriating case. Leslie, do you have anything to add before we begin?
You know, Holly, I don't. I have nothing new. No. Nothing else to say.
No, okay. That's all.
it.
Well, all right then. On with the show. If our 4 years together, yes, 4, I know, has taught me anything, it's that you can't trust everything you see in the media. So while we both did watch this documentary more than once, it was by no means my only source this week. Bear in mind, though, that this is a TLDR episode, so I won't be including every minute detail of the case, just kind of the highlights and what we believe to be the most important things, and also some things the documentary may have left out. And if you want more information, I will refer you to the New York Times article, The Strange Case of Anna Stubblefield, which is the definitive case study on this. It is like they did all the work before the documentary came out.
Sure. It is worth the free week.
It is. I have a subscription because I have to for all of you guys.
Yeah.
So I can read New York Times stuff.
Holly, we have a subscription.
We do. We also have a subscription to Rolling Stone and the Washington Post, and then a bunch of weird local newspapers I never looked at again. So last week, I think an Idaho Observer or something. We can read that if we want.
You know, you can cancel them.
Yeah, but I have the whole month of it right now.
Oh, yeah.
So I can know what's happening in Idaho.
Okay.
Till August.
Awesome.
Yeah, isn't that great? Anyway, read The Strange Case of Anna Stubblefield in the New York Times. I will also include some peer-reviewed information on facilitated communication, and I will include links to all of those things in our show notes this week. That's important this week just because it is something you guys might be pretty eager to see all the ins and outs of. Also, this is a New Jersey case. Not that we're proud of that, but it is. Which means that we are already pretty familiar with the laws and the court system, as well as the healthcare and education systems in our state. So that was really nice for a change.
It was, yeah.
We didn't have to look up every little thing. I was like, oh no, I know how New Jersey works. That's fine. So we had that going for us. But I do have to give it to Netflix this time. In the recent past, I have found out that some of their documentaries are very opinionated. Their media, it's at the end of the day, this is also entertainment. A lot of times it has to be presented with an opinion or it's hard to make it compelling. And their opinions are not always right or in alignment with the truth of a case. And a lot of times they withhold a lot of information. But this time, they really got most of it totally right. This documentary is extremely reliable. If you go and watch it, you will know this case. There are a few things you might want to find out afterwards, but really you will have a pretty comprehensive grasp on what it is. So I got to give it to Netflix this time. And this case is a lot to take in.
Sure is.
Yeah. It tells the story of the one-sided love affair between Anna Stubblefield and Derrick Johnson, who in the New York Times article is referred to as DJ, which is why in some of the quotations and even in the documentary a few times, you hear him referred to as DJ because they didn't decide to reveal his real name for like a while. His brother John is like kind of our main narrator, I would say, right? In this film, we kind of follow his journey with this. And in the New York Times article and all other articles before this documentary, he's referred to by his middle name, Wesley. So just so you guys know, that's kind of how to connect the dots there. Now, before we get into the story, here are a few facts about Anna and Derrick as they were in 2011 when everything came crashing down. Just before we begin, we're going to get this out there. Sorry, Anna, not Anna, Anna. Anna is a 41-year-old married college professor with a passion, some might say obsession, for helping the disabled. Derrick is a 30-year-old man with cerebral palsy so severe that he could not communicate, feed himself, bathe himself, regulate his emotions reliably, control his bodily movements, or use the toilet. So that's pretty compromised, and it's someone, who would require a lot, right? Derrick lives with his mother, Daisy, and his older brother, John, who shared his legal guardianship and served as his full-time caregivers. Anna lives with her husband and 2 children. Husband, just putting it out there. Derrick was deemed severely intellectually disabled and was said to have a mental age comparable to that of a baby between 6 and 12 months old. Anna has her PhD in Africana Studies and has published several essays and books. Derrick is Black and Anna is white. Anna claims that she and Derrick fell in love through the power of words and a great intuitive connection. She claims that though it was difficult, they also have had consensual sex and wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. Derrick cannot comment. Y'all see the problem here, right?
Sure.
See what we're facing. So how did these two come to be embroiled in such a hotly contested affair? Well, like most of this story, it's complicated. So let's rewind a bit. Now, the reason I give the rundown of facts like that before we get into it is because anywhere else you will read about this or the documentary, when you see it, it's visible. You can see these things, but this is an audio medium, so I got to tell you before we go into it. So now we're all on the same level. In 2009, when this case study begins, Dr. Anna Stubblefield has been married to her husband, Roger, a composer, conductor, and tuba player with various prestigious symphony orchestras.
Ooh.
What an interesting career.
For sure.
They were married for 20 years at that point.
Okay.
Which means, she got married very, very young. The pair had 2 children. They lived in a home. Their lives were very comfortable. They had 2 pretty nice incomes. Everything's pretty good over in that house, right?
Yeah.
Anna, who had obtained her PhD and worked her way through the ranks of academia, was a philosophy professor at Rutgers University, Newark, where she also served as a faculty advisor to the university's Disability Service Office. Her university website described her as, quote, a facilitated communication trainer by the FC Institute at the School of Education, Syracuse University. That was in her bio on the Rutgers website. Now, just for non-New Jersey residents, Rutgers has 2 campuses, one in New Brunswick, which is in the very real central New Jersey, and another which is in Newark, which is at the top of the state, closer to New York City, just to differentiate. My sister-in-law works at the New Brunswick campus, by the way. So she wasn't even there. So one of the classes Anna taught dealt with ethics, race, and disability. Great. That sounds great, right? And in that class was a student who was a PhD candidate named John Wesley Johnson. One afternoon, she was lecturing about the way many medical professionals underestimate the mental capacity of people who are deemed intellectually disabled. And to illustrate her point, she showed the class a film called Autism is a World. The film is a documentary that was actually nominated for an Academy Award that follows the remarkable story of Sue Rubin, an autistic woman who was diagnosed as intellectually disabled in her early childhood. The film alleges that at the age of 13, she learned to express herself through typing on a computer keyboard, which she was able to do with the assistance of a technique called facilitated communication. And with her newfound voice, she revealed that she was in fact highly intelligent, like a genius-level IQ. She was extremely eloquent when she would type these beautiful observations on the world, and she wrote the dialogue to this movie. It was astounding. It reminds people of the movie Awakenings, where they're all the older people are in, I forget what they had, dementia issues, and they give them this drug, and all of a sudden they're better.
Yeah.
It's this awakening moment. And that awakening moment is important because I think it's something that people can latch onto and fetishize and think that's what I'm going to do. Not really a thing, but okay. But this documentary struck a chord with John, whose brother Derrick seemed to have a lot in common with this woman, Sue Rubin. Derrick wasn't autistic, at least that wasn't part of his diagnosis, but he did have profound cerebral palsy. And through his family's determination and love, Derrick had been able to learn a few things for himself, like he can stand alone. He gets most places by scooting his butt on the ground, but he can stand and walk, assisted for the most part, which was a huge deal because after he was born, they were told he would never do any of those things. Yeah. They said he would pretty much be bedbound his whole life. But they really worked hard to get him the little grains of independence that he had. But he still couldn't do a lot of simple tasks like take care of himself, feed himself. I mentioned this in the beginning. He lived a simple existence. He had things he liked. He loved snacks. Who doesn't? We love snacks.
Love a snack.
He liked to play with coat hangers. He liked the texture and the sound they made. That was kind of cute. He liked to the sound they made when he would hit him against things. They do make a good sound. I get it. His eyes liked to gaze upward toward the ceiling. And when he felt frustrated or emotionally out of control, he would bite his hands, which was a little bit of self-harm. Sometimes they had to kind of control that. And the only way he could really communicate was by kind of crying out in simple syllables. They weren't words. They were just and he could reach out for things, kind of your daughter's development right now. She can make sounds and syllables and reach for things, but she's not mother, I require sustenance at present.
Yes.
That's coming very soon.
Yes.
But that's about the level he's at,
Right.
And his family was really good. I mean, they really did work with him.
I know, they did.
I like his family. Guys, his family's so great. I really do think they're admirable, wonderful people. In 2004, Derrick had been evaluated by a clinical psychologist named Wayne Tillman, who consults for New Jersey's Bureau of Guardianship Services. Dr. Tillman, who has nothing, by the way, to this day, but 5-star reviews and a sterling reputation. You can still see him if you want. Found that Derrick's impairments, quote, precluded any formal testing of intelligence, so he can't even take the intelligence tests, but that certain facts could be inferred, such as his comprehension seemed to be quite limited, his attention span was very short, and he lacks the cognitive capacity to understand and participate in decisions. This is a formal evaluation. It's usable in a court of law. Derrick was also deemed unable to carry out basic preschool level tasks, and his intelligence level was labeled that of a toddler. A few months later, a court appointed John and his mother, Daisy, as Derrick's legal guardians. So they needed that evaluation. Then he got deemed incompetent. They could take care of him legally in his adulthood forever. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Perfect sense. But John had hope in his heart. Nothing is more dangerous than hope, honestly. And he hoped that there was more to Derrick. He thought his brother seemed to be aware. There were things that he loved. He loved going to church. He loved the gospel music his mother played. He would smile when he had a meal he enjoyed or saw something that he found to be fun. He loved his brother, and his eyes would just light up every time he saw him. He loved his mother. But sometimes John would lock eyes with Derrick, and he just couldn't help but wonder what was going on in his mind. And you and I have both said this, Leslie, but before we get into anything further, it's fair. That's fair.
It is fair, yeah.
To have that notion, to have that hope, I don't fault them at all for that.
No.
And these are people that are highly intelligent and educated.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, well, I would have seen that could have been impossible. No, you wouldn't have.
No, because, okay, so I have a 9-month-old, and I feel like when I look at her when she's doing things, it's just like she just doesn't have the capabilities yet to say the words, but I feel like she's thinking them. Like even if she's not, like I don't understand how it's working, but I just feel like she could express something.
Sure.
But she just can't yet.
Yeah, we
so if I feel that way about a 9-month-old, then why, like, even if somebody like Derrick is now much older,
yeah,
and he still just doesn't have the capabilities to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe he is developmentally there.
It's still the same, like, sparkle. You still have to wonder. You're like, God, I can see stuff going on. The wheels are turning.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
And it may just be
like he has to understand words now, right? Like, or, it's just like they're getting older. Like maybe he can't say them and do these things. Like he's still stuck here, but like, I feel like he's still matured somehow. Like you want to believe that they do.
There's so much cognitive dissonance too between, like, you see an adult. They're looking at an adult.
Yeah.
But internally it's a baby.
Yeah.
It's hard for your brain to latch onto that.
It's hard and it's sad.
Oh, it's very sad.
Because
absolutely.
I think at the end of the day, like your biggest fear is like, are they trapped?
Yeah. What if I don't know? What if his brain is going a mile a minute and I'm just not giving him the proper way to express it?
Right.
Then it's on you.
Right.
Oh, yeah. You have a really good point there. That would be like just crushing.
Right.
Especially like they clearly love him so much too. So yeah, absolutely. So after this class where they watched this autism documentary, John tells Anna that he wants to know more about facilitated communication. So she says, okay, come meet with me in my office. We'll talk about it. I think it's at a later date. And he goes and meets in her office and he explains his brother to her and expresses his hope that there is more to his brother than just what's on the surface. He feels that he's so much like this Sue Rubin woman that perhaps the same thing is possible for him. And Anna totally agrees. She tells John that, like, yeah, I bet he does. I bet he has tons of thoughts and he's an adult. She says the closest certification center for facilitated communication is in Syracuse, where she studied, but it was very expensive and he couldn't possibly afford that. I take a little bit of an issue with that statement because it's not, unless you have to be a student, but you don't. To just be certified in FC, you don't, it's like they don't even have prices on it. You just go and get it done because it's a research facility too. So you're kind of part of their program. I guess she could be referring to like traveling to Syracuse might be too much for him to afford because they were of limited means at the time. But I was kind of like, this is a bit condescending. And she's like, but it's too much money. You could never afford it. So that was like one of my first red flags.
Right.
I didn't like that at all. But she does say that she's certified and she would be happy to come to his house and evaluate his brother herself. And, she could perhaps engage in this facilitated communication with him.
And her thing was, which I thought this was really sly the way she did it, was like, why don't I come over? We'll do the evaluation. And if it seems like this is something that would work, then you guys can think about the Syracuse option. But like, why waste your money on all time going up there if it's not going to work?
Ugh, that's so sinister.
Yeah, so sweet of her.
But so manipulative. Like you could give him the information himself. And if he says this isn't something I can do, then you can provide another option. But you don't go, I know what's best for you. And it's this. But that is what Anna does with everything.
Yeah. I guess that's where, see, if that's how she came off initially, I feel like John would have felt the red flag. I think she came off a lot more like before you take this option. I think it was sweeter and helpful.
I guess it was in the interview portion where she was talking to the reporter where she's like, but that was way too expensive. I told him he couldn't possibly do that. I guess she was probably summarizing it. But yeah, you're right. But it is manipulative at the end of the day. And I just hate that.
Yeah, sure.
She also expresses that she thinks most of the time nonverbal people simply lack the muscle coordination to speak or type on their own. And that happens like most of the time. And that it just takes the right person to treat them like they're an adult and like really give them the respect they deserve and open that door.
Yeah.
Which is also dismissive and a little like patronizing. Like you just have to treat them like an adult.
Yeah.
Like you weren't doing that to begin with. And that's flawed. So you're already going into this, if you're the family members, like, I've already done something wrong.
Yeah.
Right. But John was thrilled. He doesn't care. He's like, all right, I like whatever happened up until this point, it doesn't matter. Just help my brother. Before we move forward, let's talk a little bit about Sue Rubin and the documentary Autism is a World, because it's not great. According to a report in Slate magazine, Autism is a World is described as a propaganda film for the pseudoscience of facilitated communication. Yep. This was all current when this case happens. The Behavior Analysis Association of Michigan has also pointed out that Sue Rubin has 2q37 deletion syndrome, which is a rare genetic disorder, and not autism.
Right.
The genetic disorder she has causes handicaps like skeleton malformations and severe developmental disabilities. Always. It always does those things, whereas autism is a spectrum, and it doesn't always mean that you have the kind of intellectual disabilities that others have, right? But there is no maybe with this woman, Sue. There is a lot of skepticism that she cannot possibly have an IQ of 133 like the film purports. She can't perform simple tasks independently and needs 24-hour supervision, and she only has the articulation skills of a 2 to 3-year-old. But at the time, John didn't know any of that.
Right.
I'm willing to bet that Anna did, but it didn't align with what she wanted to believe, so it was out the window.
Sure, yeah.
But what is facilitated communication? Who is it supposed to serve, and where did it come from? For that, we're going to turn to a fun little wiki roundup. So first, facilitated communication is promoted as a means to assist people with severe communication disabilities in pointing to letters on an alphabet board, keyboard, or other device so they can communicate independently. Makes sense. Point to letters to spell out words, type letters on a keyboard, point to pictures, that kind of thing. We've all seen, I don't know, Grey's Anatomy or any number of medical shows where that happens with somebody. We get it, right. But how, you must be asking yourself? Well, the person with disabilities who is often unable to rely on speech to communicate is called the communication partner, while the person holding their arm is called the facilitator. This sounds like weird cult language, but whatever. I am the facilitator. Yeah. The facilitator then holds or touches the communication partner's elbow, wrist, hand, sleeve, or other parts of their body, while the communication partner points to letters of the alphabet on a keyboard or other device. Now, they're supposed to, when holding their hand while typing or holding their elbow or shoulder, only apply resistance. So like push against it so they have something to push off of, which doesn't work when you have your hand on someone else's hand. That's not the same.
Right.
What they're supposed to do is provide resistance, however. Now you're probably thinking, that sounds kind of fishy. Who would be a good candidate for this type of assistance and why? First, it was mostly nonverbal people with autism, right? That's what we're hearing in everything. Quote, proponents of FC claim that the reason people with autism cannot communicate effectively involves motor issues such as apraxia, and that they lack confidence in their abilities, but physical support helps them overcome this limitation. They lack confidence, and that's why they're nonverbal. I bet you want to interject again, right?
Sure.
Yeah, you want to say something like, autism is neurological and differs wildly from person to person. I don't think every nonverbal person on the spectrum simply lacks the mechanics or confidence to speak. That sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was exactly my thought.
I can intuit what you have to say.
Yeah.
So I just said it for you.
Thank you.
That's how this works.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't have the confidence to say it myself.
I'm here to give it to you.
For being right.
Just resist against it. I'll touch your shoulder and you just push back and you can say everything you need to say.
Thank you for being my communication partner.
You're so welcome. So the last thing you said, and I know you said it, was, this sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it? Yes, it does, because it is. Quote, this claim is unsubstantiated. Research indicates that many to most nonverbal autistics are unable to communicate due to intellectual disability. There are some where it's selective mutism. There are some nonverbal autistic people who that's not true of. But for a large majority, it is true. And that is okay. It must be said that that's okay. They are who they are. Meet them where they are and help them there.
Yeah.
Don't try to make them something else.
Yep.
That is the crux of this whole case. But let's soldier forward. So cerebral palsy, which you're like, okay, but we're talking about autistics. What about CP? Well, that was added to the list of conditions that could possibly benefit from facilitated communication because it is technically classified as a movement disorder. But it's kind of negligent to ignore the fact that cerebral palsy can also cause a wide range of developmental and intellectual disabilities. It's tricky, though. With cerebral palsy, most people are not profoundly intellectually affected. They have some developmental disabilities, but a lot of them are perfectly able to communicate and, kind of present and age appropriate. But there are two reasons why intellectual disabilities happen. One, it's just part of the disorder sometimes. And two, a lot of times cerebral palsy is caused by a birth injury. It's linked to like forcep births or like a head injury when you're born. And a lot of times that can also collaterally cause certain like intellectual effects. So again, on the spectrum of these things, it does cause that. To say it's just a movement disorder is irresponsible.
Sure, yeah.
So how does this facilitated communication actually work? The facilitator is depicted as helping the patient with pointing to letters. So what they're basically said to be doing is calming down any involuntary movements. So like if they have tremors or they're like they tics or whatever, they're just stilling that so that they can focus on moving, right? They help them avoid mistakes. They help initiate movement to point them towards words or letters. They give them verbal prompts. Like they'll correct them like, oh, you didn't mean A, you meant F, right? They provide moral support. It is also claimed that the facilitator must believe in the patient's ability to communicate. So they have to believe that these people are not intellectually disabled. That's part of the training. Facilitators are also often encouraged to anticipate what their clients say and then guide them to say it.
Yeah, that's the shady.
It's a really big problem. You're like, well, you have to just guess what they're going to say. You just know. You just have this psychic link with them and you just know what they're going to say.
And that's what psychics do.
Yep. Guys, you want to interrupt again, don't you?
Yeah.
I could tell. I'm gonna anticipate what you're saying and you're going to say, but if another person is holding their hand and anticipating their words without hearing them, couldn't that person just straight up be making all of this up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, they could. And often they are.
Wow.
But here's the kicker. Most of the time, they don't know they're doing it.
Yeah.
Most.
Mm-hmm.
Not all. Most. This is due to something called the ideomotor phenomenon. And that sounds strange, but don't worry, it actually isn't. It's exactly how a Ouija board works.
I was just going to say, we all have done it with a Ouija board.
Absolutely.
I didn't move it, but you did.
Nobody
Sharon.
moved it.
You did.
Yeah, somebody did. Now, the ideomotor effect or phenomenon is a psychological phenomenon wherein a subject makes motions unconsciously. It is a concept in hypnosis and psychological research. The words are derived from ideo, which means mental representation, and motor, which means muscular or action. The phrase is most commonly used in reference to the process whereby a thought or mental image brings about a seemingly reflexive or automatic muscular reaction. So, like, clearly the people who are the facilitators,
mm-hmm.
Clearly they know the answer. So, like, automatically you want to answer it. They're like, what do you, pick out the picture of a cat. They know which one's a cat. And this also happens in response to pain. The body will sometimes reflexively, like if something looks hot, you'll draw your hand back before you even touch it. Yeah. It's that kind of response. Yeah. You're not even thinking about it. You just do it. So just like when you were a kid and you really wanted the Ouija board to say that you were talking to a dead Victorian teenage boy, and it did? Whoa. Wow, we are talking to Atticus from 1904 who lived in this house and has got dark hair and brown eyes. He's about 5'8".
Ew. Stop.
Died of consumption. He was a poet. Oh my God, he said all those things.
Gross.
Oh, when you were 14, that wasn't like something that would have been really awesome.
No, that would have been horrifying for me.
Oh, no, I was
I'd have been like,
yes.
Nobody's here. Go home and play basketball.
Oh, no. See, I was like, where's the like good-looking old-timey ghost to come and talk to us?
No.
Oh, yeah. I wanted him to have a dark backstory. It was great. Obviously, Ouija boards were more fun with me. Leslie told you to go home and play basketball. Oh, no. Anyway, yeah, so miraculously, the things you're thinking of, whether it be basketball or a good-looking teenage ghost, they would appear on the board. Facilitated communicators can think about how their client would respond, and because they're holding on to their arm or hand, they can subconsciously go through the motions to have them type out that precise thought, rather eloquently most of the time as well. And because the rule book on this stuff instructs them to do this and to anticipate what their client might want to say, they really just think they're doing their job. But John didn't know any of this either.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't know any of these things, it looks pretty magical.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. It looks like these people are having unbelievable revelations.
Right. And like, why isn't this more widespread?
Yeah, why doesn't everybody do this? Why are doctors purposefully keeping these people trapped?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Often the communication partner says the same thing. Every time it's, I'm trapped in my body. I feel so free now that this person is allowing me to speak. That verbiage is used like every single time. It's a little too on the nose, if you ask me, and everybody else. So that weekend, Anna comes to John's house to meet and evaluate Derrick. According to the New York Times, quote, in preparation for their visit, Anna had cut out pictures from magazines and drawn on index cards. In which room would you find a stove? She asked, laying out 4 cards showing a kitchen, a bedroom, a bathroom, and a laundry room. Please don't be insulted, she added quickly. I assume you know the answers to these questions. But how could she? They had never met before. This is her evaluation. First thing. Then you assume he knows the answers. But she explains that away, being like, you have to tell them you believe in them. Part of the training. That's part of the training. And then things got real miraculous real fast, like really fast. So he got all of these simple questions right. Then she starts doing the spelling on a keyboard. And at first she says things like, oh, he made simple spelling errors, which I would say like, you mean F instead of T. Or she said like, oh, he would point to an H when he really meant a capital A because he couldn't understand that there was the connection at the top. But here's the thing. Derrick had never had any formal education. He was not taught how to read.
Right.
He was not taught what any of those letters meant or how they sounded. And there's always back ways around that. They say things like, well, they were reading signs when you were going out. They were listening to television. They learned to read from Sesame Street. Okay. Back to the New York Times. Quote, sitting at the keyboard, Derrick also seemed to have a lot to say. His messages were simple and misspelled at first, but his skill and fluency improved. Eventually, he could hit a letter every second. That's fast. And if Anna guessed the word before he finished typing it, he would hit the Y to confirm. Anna brought books for him to read, Maya Angelou and others, not, like Go Dog Go or something, and discovered that he read like a savant, 10 pages a minute. Wow.
Wow.
She was turning the pages for him, of course. They discussed the possibility of enrolling in a GED program. The sky's the limit now, right? As DJ came into his own, remember, this is the article, and that's why they're using DJ, Anna kept her mother posted on his progress because Anna's mother had also trained in facilitated communication. In fact, she was one of the first people to ever use it professionally because Anna's parents are both special education teachers. They have PhDs. They were big on disability rights. And Anna watched all this happen. She watched her mom do sessions of facilitated communication. In fact, she recorded them for her with a video recorder. So, of course, she's consulting her mom, who has drank the facilitated communication Kool-Aid long ago. In the spring of 2010, Anna's mother, Sandra, asked if Derrick might like to give a paper for a panel she was organizing at a conference for the Society for Disability Studies in Philadelphia. So this makes him like a speaker. Okay. The panel was on Article 21 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which lays out the right to freedom of expression and opinion. Derrick wasn't sure he could do it, Anna said, but she convinced him he should try. Quote, that fall, Derrick started sitting in on a 400-level course in African-American literature at Rutgers. This is like a serious college course. And she had a Rutgers undergraduate student named Sharonda Jones, Anna found her and recruited her, be his facilitated communicator in class. So she would help him take notes and help him do his homework. And Sharonda said, quote, he pretty much read the books. This is in her statement to the police. Quote, I can't tell you what he read, and he typed out the information. She added, quote, I know because one of my roommates was in class with him, and they pretty much wrote some of the same things, which means that she had access to her roommate's papers and notes and all of the information. So,
right.
And anything she assisted him with reading-wise, she was turning pages and looking at it. So obviously she had seen these things and heard any kind of lecture notes. There's no way. Whatever. But this miraculous process, as smooth as it may seem, wasn't without its problems. For example, no matter how much progress Derrick was making with Anna or Sharonda or even Anna's mother, no matter how verbose or expressive Derrick seemed to be when he was writing papers and giving talks and taking classes, he never seemed to be able to type a thing with his brother or his mother.
Yeah.
In fact, they spent hours and hours training in facilitated communication, but neither had any success with Derrick. Anna typed with Derrick just fine. So why couldn't they? She told them it was just because they needed to work harder and they didn't really believe in it.
But, and my thing is at the beginning in the documentary, she talks about, she has the cards out and, they have all the letters.
Yep.
And it'll be cat, bat, so it's try to make as many words as you can with these 4 letters. So if he can point to that stuff, right, and is understanding those things, then he should be able to be doing a lot more communication within the household.
Right. Absolutely true.
Very easily.
If all you had to do was steady him to get hit or hold his hand to get him to be able to point to a picture.
Yeah.
You're right. He should be able to flail at something.
Or they open the refrigerator. What kind of snack do you want today, Derrick? And he can
make a sound. Make a sound when I point to the one you like. Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? Yeah, exactly. They should be able to jury rig his situation so that he can say something.
Exactly. Once, immediately when it was the cards in place, I was if he could do that, he can do anything.
If he can do that, why is he in diapers?
Yeah. Yeah.
He could give you a simple signal every time that he had to use the bathroom, and you could take him to the bathroom.
Yep.
You can't be 30 years old and opt out of it.
Loves the diaper.
Love a fucking diaper.
Yes.
So cozy.
So cozy. It's warm.
I
squishy.
Never have to go to another room. What if I'm watching a show that's teaching me how to read?
Yeah, I gotta just sit here.
What if I'm reading Maya Angelou at 10 pages a minute? God, you guys. Oh, God. So as time moved on, Anna also became a fixture in the Johnson home. John even says in the interview that she became kind of like cousin Anna, or she felt like she was part of the family. She was always there. But she began to want more and more control over Derrick. She seemed to feel that she simply knew better for him than his family did, and she started correcting them. And when she starts correcting his mother, that's when shit starts going downhill.
Yeah.
When she's like, don't baby him. He's a man, not a child. Why are you treating him like that? Okay, because he needs to be fed and walked from location to location. Or there were a couple instances where she said some stuff where I was I couldn't believe mom let her get away with it.
I know.
Oof.
When she's just I sat on my hands.
Oh, yeah. When she was let me read the quotation first, and I'll see what I got. So this is from the New York Times. Quote, some of Derrick's messages, this is John said this, some of Derrick's messages didn't seem as if they came from him. Yeah. Derrick typed with Anna that he didn't like gospel music. That's what it was. But John knew his brother loved to sway in church, doing what John called the Stevie Wonder dance, like that head back and forth business. Clearly, when you like something and he was really feeling it. Derrick also typed through Anna that he enjoyed red wine. What? Especially from a label called Fat Bastard. But John spent communion Sundays with Derrick and said he never showed any interest in drinking wine. They said he shied away from communion wine. John also said, quote, it seemed to be very class-based. It seemed very much of what she liked, but not what Derrick liked. So that's what I was talking about when he talks about how they were in the car and mom is playing gospel music. And Anna's like, no, put on classical. Derrick prefers classical.
She doesn't even say it. She just turns the channel.
Oh, worse. Oh my God, I would have slapped her hand. Don't do that. And they're like, why do you think you know this? He likes red wine from the vineyard, fat bastard.
Yeah.
This guy. This guy wants specific kinds of red wine. Also, why are you giving somebody at that level, even if you think they're intellectually secure, he has a host of other actual physical disabilities.
Yeah.
Why are you giving him alcohol?
Right.
Ethically, as a teacher or caregiver or aide, you can't do that.
Right.
Ethically, you're also not supposed to be involved in his life that intricately. It's just not supposed to happen. So she has blurred boundaries very early on.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, like, communion wine is, like, pretty sweet.
It's very sweet. It's not even like fat bastard wine.
No. So, I mean, he might have had a preference. He's like, I want to drink that trash wine.
I need a nice dry fat bastard.
I love a dry wine. I don't want a dessert wine.
No. Yeah. Guy who like loves cookies and applesauce and he wants a nice dry red.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I used to get so excited to get communion wine.
I never had communion, but I do know that it is a very sweet wine. And then there is the matter of his name. And this makes me madder than almost anything. After the first couple of sessions, Anna asks Derrick what he likes to be called because his family shouldn't be able to dictate that for him. She wanted him to tell him what he wanted to be called, not his mom. Oh, God. He typed out D-M-A-N. And his mom chimed in upon hearing this that, D-Man, Derrick's favorite caregiver at the adult daycare, the person who got him to walk when everyone else said it was impossible, called him D-Man. He probably means that. He loved this person. Oh, hell. And she's like kind of touched at the memory and like, we could call him D-Man. All right, D-Man, you know? It's like cute. But since that 1 second, Anna persistently calls him D-Man the rest of the time for no explainable reason.
Right.
That wasn't right. It was never right. It was never what his family, it had no history of being right.
Yeah, but so I know you're getting heated about that.
I hate it.
And I know other people would. But if we're following along with Anna and her delusion, then she is saying that she specifically asked Derrick what he wanted to be called.
Right.
And he said, D-Man, demand.
Demand. It's the whitest way possible to read that. Oh, because you demand?
Right.
Fuck off.
Yeah, but I also think it's weird to be like, D-Man. I guess maybe I'm a white woman, so I was like, demand.
If your name is Derrick and you're like, hey, D-Man, I could see that over like, I will now call you demand.
I guess if I was Anna in that situation, I'd just be like, that's adorable, but I can't call you that.
So just keep calling him.
How about I just call you D?
Yeah. Or I call you your government name because I am a professional person in your home and your government name is Derrick.
I know, yeah, but okay. But again, I'm not mad about it necessarily because if he said like, I'd rather be called like D or DJ or like a nickname, you're gonna like, you might be like, yeah, I'll call you your nickname like that if that feels better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know in the end
But like, this is all weird. This specifically
and it is her
all
needing
weird.
to take ownership of what he is called. She has to take away what his family calls him.
Yes.
And change it to what she wants to call him.
Yeah.
And that's how his brother calls attention to this in the trial. He eventually does say, like, you even renamed him to suit yourself.
Yeah.
Which she did.
Yeah.
And it's so fucked up.
Yeah.
And it does piss the entire internet off. I was like, is it just me that's weird about this? No, it's everybody. Everybody's mad about it. But from the outside, things continued like this for just about 2 years. Until Memorial Day of 2011, when D-Man and Anna sat down John and Daisy and explained to them gently that they had fallen in love.
Yeah.
And they wanted to be together. This did not sit well at all, but they were very calm. Daisy had to sit on her hands.
Yep.
John went downstairs to throw up at one point, but they held a calm conversation. Anna proceeded to tell them that they too had also had consensual sex.
Twice.
But they tried a bunch of times before the 2 successful ones.
Yeah.
That's when John went to throw up.
And that's what I feel like the documentary left out that part.
Oh,
they kind
yeah.
of just made it sound like it was just twice.
No, she had to try. There's a lot of grooming involved.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's reciprocal, but there is. I'll read you guys the whole passage in a second. And so the family kind of listens to this and does the best they can to digest what they're hearing until she leaves. I think they leave on a note of kind of well, we have to you should go now, and we have to process what you have said to us, right? They don't want to process any of that shit. That's insane. So at that point, John's like, I gotta go. I need to look up facilitated communication. And when he does, he finds a whole world of the things we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
He finds out that facilitated communication has been heavily discouraged by the American Psychological Association since 1994. It is 2011. By 2001, it had been empirically discredited in the United States. I repeat, it is 2011.
Mm-hmm.
The place in Syracuse that she recommended where she studied, they continue to teach facilitated communication, but they are widely disliked and have been asked publicly on multiple occasions to cease and desist what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that can't be fun to read. He also found all the criticism on the film Autism is a World and the information on Sue, that woman that he thought was so inspiring. But the first thing he finds is not the documentary Autism is a World. It's an episode of the television show Frontline that detailed rampant sexual abuse in the facilitated communication community. So much so that they liken it to people with recalled memories during the Satanic Panic. Everybody was saying they were sexually abused. Some were just using this as a weapon to kind of get them away from family members. It was wild. Which then leads them to all of the double-blind studies. So I'm going to give you a quick version of what this is. So there's a doctor. His name is Dr. Shane. I love this guy. He's so smart. And he creates a double-blind study wherein he goes into a room with the facilitator and the communication partner. And he has a manila folder with an image taped on the inside. Now, he shows the image to, I forget who he shows first.
He usually shows the partner first.
Right. The facilitator?
No.
Or no?
The community. Oh, yes. The facilitator. Sorry.
He shows the facilitator first. And they type, it's a hat. They say, hat, Okay. She's like, all right, fine. Now I'm just going to show the impaired person.
No. So they show the facilitator the picture and then they show the impaired person.
Right. Yeah.
And then they type.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because they both have to see it.
Correct.
Image.
All right. You're right. So So he shows the picture to just the facilitator. Then he closes the folder, opens it, and he has this awesome sleight of hand magic trick where the picture flips and it flips over and it's another picture. He shows the other picture to the partner, the person who has disabilities. Every single time, 100% of the time, they said what the facilitator saw.
Yeah.
Every time. Not one person said what the partner saw.
Right.
Now, the most heartbreaking outcome of this is that with one of the women, one of the facilitators that he did the study with, Dr. Shane took her out in the room afterwards and was like, listen, this is not what you think it is. Here's what happened. You said what you saw every time. And your partner saw something different every single time. And I have video and I have evidence. And the woman broke down, sobbing. And she was like, I have been lying to people. I didn't mean to do that, but I've been lying to people. And this woman spoke out against all of her training and she became part of part of helping instead of hurting. And it was her story is pretty inspiring. But
she's the Shiro.
She is the Shiro. I should have put her name down. Oh.
Holly, you left out the woman's name in the story.
I don't even have this whole story written in my notes because it's supposed to be short. Not.
We went past that.
I worked so hard to make it short. Oh, well. It could have been longer. So he gets all this information. He's like, oh, shit. Things have not been going the way I think they've been going. I don't think my brother said any of these things, right? So they approach Anna again and they're like, we think this is bullshit. We think what you did is wrong. We're going to test it. And they say, so who's Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, my mom's friend or something. And that's something that like Anna would have known.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, okay, who's Sally? Sally is what they called Georgia as well. It was like a family nickname or something. And this is something that Derrick would have been exposed to a million times. He would have known that. But Anna never was. And then they typed out, my mother's little nephew. And they were like, get the fuck out. Nope, because he knows exactly whose that is, and you're wrong. And she was like, but no, technically it is a nephew because this is somebody. And she like tries to like backtrack and make all this logic. And they're like, no, get the fuck out of our house. And they called damn cops. They're like, I think someone's been fucking raping our brother.
Yeah.
So the cops are like, okay, this is fucking wild. But we need her to admit to these things and we need to record it. So let's have a sting operation.
Yeah, I love this part.
Oh, so good. So they set up Daisy. They're like, call her and ask her about the sex. Now, I would have been like, you fucking think she's going to tell me details about sex she had with my disabled son? But she sure enough did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to read you the quotation from the New York Times.
Oh.
Yeah, it's more detailed than the documentary gives. And then I'll fill in a little bit more. But here's what they say. Quote, they met the following Sunday. This is like whatever date at Derrick's house, his mother's own fucking house, while his mother was at church. They tried to kiss while lying down on Derrick's bed. So I'm sorry, I should preface this with the fact that before this is what comes before it in the story, is that like they had confessed their love to one another.
Mm-hmm.
They had said like, I have feelings, I love you, I want to be with you. All of these beautiful like soliloquies about how much they loved each other.
And that like, he wants to move out and be on his own, and they want to live together.
Exactly. He wants to form a life with her.
Yeah. She's going to like divorce her husband.
Right.
And
And he said like, well, how are we going to do this if I can't have sex? And she was like, well, we could try to have sex. And here's where we are. They met the following Sunday at Derrick's house while his mother was at church. So she purposefully came to this house when nobody else was in it, fucked up. They tried to kiss while lying down on Derrick's bed on the theory that it would be easier given his impairments. But Derrick kept sitting up. And then he lowered himself to the floor, like he slid down the bed onto the floor to like scoot away. And Anna offered him the keyboard and asked if anything was wrong. And he typed, nothing's wrong. I'm very happy, but also overwhelmed. He just needed a minute. Anna said, okay. And DJ scooted out of the room and into the hallway. She said, look, whatever we're going to do, you set the pace. You call the shots. This is all about what feels right for you. I just love being close to you in whatever way works for you and for your body. No pressure. A few minutes later, she was naked. She followed him into another room and then brought the keyboard and was like, well, and he was like, take off your shirt, take off your pants, take off your bra. And then he said, quote, I've dreamed about this. Typing. At his request, she then pushed down his pants, loosened his diaper, and performed oral sex on him. They never finished. Quote, I was close, Derrick typed. But how would he know that? He's never done this in his life. He's never had any sexual contact.
Yeah.
We'll get into that afterwards. I was close, Derrick typed, but they had tickets for a disability-related film festival at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. They were going to see Wretches and Jabbers, a 2010 documentary about facilitated communication produced by Douglas Bicklin, the founder of the Syracuse Institute. So he had to stop getting head because he needed to go see Wretches and Jabbers at the Met.
Sure, yeah.
Fuck off, man. Quote, a week later, Anna recalled the couple tried to have sex in Anna's office at Conklin Hall with condoms, a blanket, and an exercise mat. It didn't work, and they ended up just sitting on the floor together. Anna talking and Derrick typing. Anna asked him if he might want to see some pornography. This is what I mean about grooming. Quote, to see what things looked like and different positions people used in that sort of thing. She said she wouldn't want to pay for porn or watch anything offensive, but she would be okay with finding free clips on the internet that depicted couples engaging in mutually pleasurable intercourse. Fuck off. He demurred, typing that in his view, the women in the pornography are being exploited, and that besides, Anna was more beautiful than any porn star, and he really wanted to be thinking only about her when they finally made love.
How sweet.
How fucking bullshitty.
Yeah.
Quote, the following Sunday in her office, it finally happened. Derrick was very happy with what was going on, she said in court. If he needed to say something, he would bang on the floor, because that doesn't mean stop.
Mm-hmm.
And she would pause to set up the keyboard. It was a few hours from getting undressed to afterglow, she said. When they were finished, he typed, I feel alive for the first time in my life. This is the grossest literary smut I've ever read in my life. I will remind you also that during all of these events, Anna's still married and living with her husband and 2 children. Okay? And also, all of this is vividly, obviously not informed consent. He ran from her. He slid down the bed and scooted on his butt into another room.
Right.
Then in medical reports afterwards in like the court case, they revealed that he also had rug burn in the pattern of the yoga mat she put on the floor in her office all over his back, because she stated that when they actually did have sex, she had to hold him down and be on top of him so he would stop moving.
That's awful.
Because he couldn't control his movements.
This is so sad.
Yeah, no, that's because you were raping a man who didn't want it.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like, you can bullshit your way into whatever fantastical story your brain is telling you, but it's wrong. So they get all of this on, like, recorded in a conversation. And the cops are like, oh my fucking God. So they, at that point, the prosecutor's office are like, you have to stay away from him legally. They're working on a case. She, kind of her husband knows a little bit about what's going on, but she cannot stay away from him. She just can't. Like, she goes to the house. She tries to talk to the mother again. She says to the mother, like, she's ruining her son's life, and she really lays the guilt on very thick. Thankfully, at this point, mom's like, oh, go fuck yourself, woman. Absolutely not. I'm not buying it anymore. And then she makes a really stupid choice. Quote, at the beginning of August, in a final reckless measure, she wrote an email to the director of Derrick's afternoon daycare program. An email, which is like hard evidence. She said that Derrick's family was, quote, unsure if she could see him anymore, but she asked if she could visit just one more time. Quote, it's a mess and really frustrating for me because it has more to do with issues within the family and who gets to make decisions about Derrick. She wrote, could she just come in quietly so she could tell Derrick why she disappeared? She had to let him know that she still cared about him, that she was trying to fix the situation. And they were like, no. And they forwarded it right to his family, obviously. Now, meanwhile, she's going to couples therapy with her husband. And during this whole thing, the therapist says, like, I'm sorry, Anna, but like for us to move forward, you have to let go of this perceived relationship you have with this man. Like, it's gone. If you want to keep your life, we're not talking about him anymore, because all she could talk about was him the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she wasn't like, my husband, my relationship. She was like, she would just talk. Yeah, she just talked about the man the whole time. And her husband's like, fucking hell. So after this last session where like they're not getting anywhere, the husband decides to poke around a little in her search history. And when he does, he finds search results for real estate, for homes in the area, and for, the ways to emancipate a disabled individual from their guardianship, and how to get married. And he puts the dots together and says she's going to emancipate him. Then they're going to get married and she's going to take him away and live with him. That's what she wants to do. So he says, if you think what you're doing isn't wrong, why not tell everyone?
Right.
And he forwards all of that information, screenshots of everything, directly to Derrick's family and the county prosecutor. And the cops, everybody. Derrick's family is not amused, but the prosecutor probably is, because this is a slam dunk at this point.
Sure.
Finally, after this happens, Anna is arrested in front of her home one morning as she's leaving for work. And she's like, why are you here? What's happening? I'm so in love. So the trial is obviously a 3-ring circus. Like, it's never not going to be.
Sure. Yeah.
It's insane. First of all, the defense is told that they can't use any information on facilitated communication because it's been debunked. Now, when you read this in some articles and when you hear about it in the documentary, it makes it seem like it was debunked like the week before they went to trial. So like it was a big shock. But as we have just said, it was professionally debunked in 2001, 10 years before this occurred. So they had to know. But I mean, the defense was like, oh, well, we're screwed. Quote, each side calls in outside experts to meet with Derrick. Howard Shane, the guy that does the double-blind magic picture test, who worked for Harvard, came in for the prosecution. So they got the guy.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, you evaluate it. I would have been shitting myself.
I know.
And Rosemary Crossley came in for the defense. I believe she is like the person that founded facilitated communication. But before the trial began, the judge ruled that, FC failed New Jersey's test for scientific evidence. Fuck yeah, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And that put Anna's defense team in a legal straitjacket. Its entire case rested on the fact that Derrick could communicate through his keyboard, or that at least Anna reasonably believed that he could. That's more of their defense. Now, much of that evidence of any communication has been totally tossed out. So it is just the hard facts that she was having sex with this disabled man. And the judge rules that Anna, and only Anna, could testify about the typing and why she thought it worked. So no experts in FC were allowed to testify at all.
Okay.
She would have to just be really sympathetic, basically. Then she's not. I mean, she comes off exactly the way you think she comes off, like a very disillusional person who wrote her own romance novel. And Derrick's in the courtroom. They bring him in. You can see him. You can see how profoundly disabled he is. And they read a report from Dr. Howard Shane, who says, no, he has the intellectual capacity of an under 1-year-old infant. That's what he's working with right now. And none of this is possible. They have her daughter comes in and testifies. The daughter claims that her marriage is on the rocks, that Anna's husband, her father, is abusive towards them, and that her mother is wonderful. It will later come out in her husband's victim impact statement that he believed Anna to be a manipulative narcissist and that she had spent a lot of time and energy turning his daughter against her.
So sad.
It is sad. But also, like, it's just things proving themselves over and over again. Like, it just does not go in her favor at all. After a 3-week trial, the jury finds Anna guilty on 2 counts of first-degree aggravated sexual assault, which in this state is the equivalent of rape. Yeah, she was. That's what she did. After the conviction, the judge revoked bail, saying that he thought she was a flight risk and that she was sentenced to 12 years in prison. This included requiring her to register as a sex offender. Upon leaving the courtroom, Anna was heard pleading, please, what about my daughter? You also have a son.
Yeah, but he didn't care.
Exactly. He didn't testify on her behalf, so he didn't matter. So fucked up. In July of 2017, an appeals court overturned her conviction and ordered a retrial on the basis that it was a violation of her rights to not allow her to use facilitated communication as a defense. Okay. In 2018, she pleaded guilty to 3rd-degree aggravated criminal sexual contact, and this is a plea deal, and was sentenced to time served. In October of 2016, Derrick's family was awarded $4 million in a civil suit against Anna. Good. Fucking good. Get everything he could possibly need to live comfortably and for yourself. Get a pretty house. Take care of your shit. You deserve all of that money. Anna is currently free in our state, but a registered sex offender. So she can't work in education at all, obviously. Roger, her husband, has remarried. And he lives in Philly with his wife and both of his children. So I guess the daughter kind of came to Jesus and figured out what was going on.
Good.
Derrick lives peacefully with his mother and sees John almost every day.
Wonderful.
Yeah, John went on to get his PhD and he's successful and really smart and lovely and wonderful. And in John's victim impact statement, which comes around to our Shiro statement, he says to Anna that she is not a Shiro, she is not Sandra Bullock, and this is not The Blind Side. Which is such a fucking slam dunk, man. Oh my God.
That's so good.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, he came prepared.
Yes.
So that is the encapsulation of the story. That is all of our TLDR. Now, because there is so much background and so many things you and I kind of wanted to talk about, this is now a free-form discussion of any of it. So what I didn't put in the context of the story that you and I were talking about before is Anna's background.
Right.
She was born and raised in Plymouth, Michigan. Her parents, I said, were both PhDs in special education. But they were also like ardent social justice warriors when it came to like politics, women's rights, and they like loved the disabled. They loved it.
Yeah.
And Anna, like kind of from an early age, and it disturbed me so much, and I know it did to you too in the documentary, when she talks about how fascinated she was with people with disabilities.
But it was like, that's one thing to say. Like, I'm fascinated by them. I want to better understand. I want to be there to help. But it's another to be like, I would just like want to play dress up as like somebody with polio.
Which is what she did. She said, I got my dad to make me little crutches so I could pretend I was polio affected.
Yeah. And I would just like to act like I had cerebral palsy.
I would just do like jerky movements or like not be able to walk. It was just
so fun.
Isn't that sweet? Or I put a blindfold on so I couldn't see.
Like what normal kids would do.
Oh my God.
And then like her mom would comment about it and say like, you know, she was so interested and she wanted me to find her like a blind pen pal and we would learn. I taught her Braille and like her mom makes it sound like it's this wonderful thing that she wants to do, she wants to better understand. That
rock polishing mentality that like I take this weird thing and I fantasize it into my daughter is this like empathetic savant. Yeah. And that's what Anna does too. They do the same thing. But like also her dad made those crutches.
I know. I'm upset with all of them.
None of it is right. Who let that happen? And this is not just that one isolated incident. She fetishizes a lot of things. Like, first of all, she absolutely fetishizes disabilities. The fact that you need to constantly be surrounded by disabled people and you pretend to be disabled yourself and you need to insist that these people with severe intellectual disabilities are in fact adults and that you can have sex with one of them, that's a fetish. That's a fetish. You fetishize them. But she did it with other things. Like the article talks about how she's Jewish and she is Jewish. But like for a little while, that was also her whole personality. Like she had to play Anne Frank in the school play and talk about like all of her plights. And I don't want to even go into all of it. But like she made that her whole, everything about her was just centered around that to like a fetishized point. And she does it with race too, which John talks about it a lot in the documentary. He says like, I feel like she has this big talk about how she knows how to solve racism and she is so like enlightened and understands so much. She's like, but then in practice, she's constantly correcting a Black mother. She's stepping into Black spaces and telling Black people how to live their lives. That's not practicing what she preaches.
Not at all.
And she couldn't marry a Black man and have Black children fast enough.
Yeah.
So then she was part of it all, you know? This is like, oh God. Ugh.
I know, it's gross.
I hate it so much.
It's so gross. I feel like, so when we were talking about the documentary, so like from your research, you saw that people were like upset with how light they went, like the documentary went on her.
Yeah, people thought that they were too soft on her.
Yeah, and we felt like by the end of the documentary, we were just like, oh, this woman, I need to know more about how fucked up she is.
Yeah, we were sold on how bad it was.
Yeah. But I guess I can understand because I've watched movies with enough people where sometimes I get the story like in the first 10 minutes, you know?
Like, how are you still stunned?
How are you still?
That's okay.
Yeah. Not always, but yeah.
For sure.
And I guess like after listening to the stuff that you like told me though, I guess I can see the point if other people were like, they did go soft.
Yeah.
Because this stuff is like, it is way worse. Like it was bad, but it's even way worse. But also like, I'm so comfortable with the fact that it's way worse. Cause that's what I like.
I did too.
I didn't want to feel like, well, maybe she did love him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so glad that it's so clear.
I think
because I don't think that this is something that can ever be like, well, maybe.
I don't either. I think the people who think it was soft, what they're seeing, and these reactions exist, I read them,
Yeah.
are people going, she didn't know what she was doing.
Well,
She
that's what I
just
mean.
was,
Yeah.
she was saying what she felt and what really wanted to happen. And she just really wanted to make a difference.
Yeah.
She really wanted this man to have all these thoughts. She really just wanted to make the world a better place. No.
Yeah. I think that's what is so hard. I hate like spoon feeding information to people,
Yeah.
but more and more I'm realizing
Yep.
that we sometimes have to.
Uh-huh.
But I also find that sometimes the people that come to those conclusions are probably the people that would show up at Syracuse's university now and be like, I really want to learn about this facilitated
And that
communication.
place, I can't believe they're still in business. They're so
Yeah.
disgraced.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe and Syracuse University refuses to
Mm-hmm.
comment on anything. They just let the place
Well, yeah, they
happen.
can.
They could
can't
shut them
comment.
down. They could comment on it in any way, but they don't.
Oh,
The
like
university does not
itself.
say a thing, just the institute. Let me see. I have a little bit on the institute that I didn't put in there, I don't think. I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, but it's like, it was been around for a long ass time.
They are connected though?
Yeah. It's a.
Oh, I thought like the Syracuse Institute was like different.
No, this is part of Syracuse University. And the university
Oh.
does not comment on it. Only people in this
They
little
must
institute.
be getting like money.
I guess, maybe.
I mean, they can't be getting grants though, because if it's not recognized.
Yeah. Oh, and this is the quotation in the article that really got me the hardest. I didn't really have anywhere to put it in the context of the main part of the podcast. But, quote, by 2007, Anna had begun, and this is during her like academic tenure when she was an activist and she was writing, stuff about race. Anna had begun to argue that a person's intellect and the degree to which he or she is disabled could be as much a social construct, as much a venue for tyranny as race, gender, or sexuality. It was, after all, white elites, she wrote, who first devised measures of IQ as both a rationalization and a tool of anti-Black oppression. Now, we've talked about how IQ tests are totally irrelevant before.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not a matter of how, like, specificity, like how much problem solving can you do? This is like, can you feed yourself? Can you go to the bathroom? I mean, like, what an insane thing to say. Disability is a social construct? No, it is not. Disability is a medically documented fact.
Right.
And also, like, to say that is really, really demeaning the struggle that these people go through.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to Sue's story.
Yes.
Like when they were like, she's a genius. She has this crazy IQ. I was like, wait, so is her facilitator like a genius?
She's smart. A 133 IQ is great, but it's not like insane Mensa. My daughter has a 130 IQ.
Okay.
Like, it's good, but it's not like, holy shit, good. It's like, that's a smart person.
But like as an adult though, like, do you think, I mean, your daughter can.
Of course, that's also by like 7-year-old standards when she was tested.
But
it's different standards for everyone. But
right.
No, as an adult, it's not Mensa status. It's like you're a smart person.
Okay.
For sure, you're a smart adult.
Yeah.
But you're not like, you should probably be studied. You're so smart.
Like, right. Okay. Because that's how they make it sound in the documentary. Like she is like a genius.
No, like Einstein's IQ was 167, I think. So it's like, it's much higher than that.
Okay.
But for sure, that would be a very, by those standards, intelligent individual.
Yeah. They must feel so good. They're like, wait, that was me?
Really? 133?
Wow.
Check, please.
Okay.
Maybe I don't need to be doing any of this shit.
Yeah.
You would think.
Yeah.
But no, that's not. Yeah, that's wild too. That whole documentary, they like Juliana Margulies from ER narrated it. And it was like presented at the Academy Awards.
Right, yeah.
And it was like this big deal, but it was disgraced afterwards.
Yeah.
That movie was dragged. It was pulled off the shelves. And then the people who made it just distributed it to a bunch of schools that didn't know.
Right.
Just so fucked.
I mean, that's what's scary about like just jumping on these bandwagons so quickly.
It is. But here's the thing. The fact that all of this information in 2009, 2011 was very easily findable.
Well, yes. I mean, I don't mean in this specific situation.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, when did facilitated communication form?
I believe it was like the 60s. It's been around for a long time. I didn't go into the whole history of FC
but
because
like when that movie was done.
Yeah, the first documentary is from like the 60s or 70s.
That's what I mean. So like, it's just so quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, of course, everyone's going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Right. And there are a lot of things like that in medical history.
After like a couple of decades, you're just like, ooh. Yeah, this is not so amazing.
But to be on its bandwagon in 2009 is a little intense.
But, well, yes. Oh, yes. I agree.
She got it from her mom. But, like, there's no way that a PhD educated, like, person, close to a major coastal city, like we're East Coast, close to New York, pretty well vetted in news. Things are available. It's not like she lives in like a dead spot where she couldn't find like current events or anything. And the internet and news are there.
Yeah.
There's no way that if this is a subject that you claim to specialize in, you have no idea of the things that have been said against it.
Sure. I mean, but I think that it's the same idea of like, this reminds me a lot of like the Love Wins group.
Yeah.
And how like they just believe so hard in like this other kind of medicine.
Yeah.
And like the spirituality, and which is the like, it's okay to have like some thoughts for it. But this specifically, there's so much there to disprove it.
Yeah.
And there's so many problems that you're just ignoring.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me a lot of the same kind of mindset.
I think you're right.
Like
it is culty.
It
sounds culty, right?
It's very culty.
Yeah, I got those vibes the whole time.
And that's why I think it's still around.
Yeah. I mean, and it only exists
because
in, like,
there's going to be there's going to be people that are like, you know, the naysayers, and they'll be like, they just don't understand. They don't want haters. This. Yeah, you're just haters, and you want control over these people when it's them that are trying to control them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some innocent people are falling into it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
The whole thing is so like cringy.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know. It feels so very obvious. And also, like, their bottom line, the people that believe in this facilitated communication, at the end of the day, is that intellectual disability doesn't exist, basically. Everybody is just a handhold away from writing a beautiful dissertation.
Right.
And you can claim all day long that that's doing a service to these people, but what it's doing is wildly underestimating and devaluing their actual disability in life. You're saying that what is actually a struggle for them isn't. What a shit thing to do to people.
Right.
So you're going to get people emancipated that can't stand or wipe their own ass, and you think they should be emancipated and not have any caregivers?
Yeah.
That's how you kill people. Like, if the facilitator wasn't like an Anna person who wants to like go sleep with this person because they have a fetish for disabilities, and they just were like, and now you live on your own. Here's your apartment. Click. That's a dead person. That's a dead person. Oh, it must just be that like you guys were too patronizing and you didn't listen to them when they said they wanted groceries.
It's awful.
It is awful. And kind of a wonder, at this point, I wonder, did that happen? Did something like that ever happen and we just don't know about it?
Right.
Was somebody emancipated and then it didn't go well?
Or did they convince them that, like, I think one of the things she said was that he wanted to live on his own and they were going to find, like, you know, a facility.
Yeah, she said that.
But again, like, that also makes me nervous because then it's like, yeah, that's also where, you know, sexual assaults have happened too. Like, if he's still, if he's just moving into a place that he still needs help, then just keep him at his...
Yeah, I didn't understand. I'm like, why do you want to put him in a group home instead of at his parents' home when he can live there? Usually when people are institutionalized in this day and age, Usually. I'm just not, I mean, like, there are people that just dump their people off, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
But if you are genuinely in need of like that kind of service, it's because you cannot live at home. Either you do not have 24-hour capabilities, or you are a person who is too profound or has violent outbursts and you can't be contained at home. He was fine at home.
Yeah. And his mom was more than capable.
Well, he went to an adult daycare facility that he loved, where he still goes there, where he loved his caregivers. He had people that like knew him, understood him, and cared about him. His mom worked for the New Jersey Division of Transportation for 50 years. When she retired, John, the older son, was like, she has been taking people on their journeys for 50 years. And I was like, on their journey? Oh.
He's so sweet.
He's great.
Wait, the worst part of all of this, though, is that now Derrick, like, masturbates.
Oh, chronically.
Yeah.
I read about that.
This part is the part that makes me so sad, because, like, his mom took such good care of him and kept him in such a safe bubble.
Yep.
And then
he was groomed, because if you have the mentality of a baby, the switch is not flipped for any kind of sexual content, even when you go through puberty. Automatic things happen, but the brain is not doing that. It's not asking for it. He didn't know. That's the other thing I read. Oh, this is awful. You're going to hate it even more. He didn't know how to masturbate, which means she had to teach him how to do that himself. Because remember, this is like baby mentality, which means he could not have just put that together.
Yeah.
She showed him how to do that, which is so horrifically fucked up. But once the switch was flipped, because he is hormonally an adult, he just wanted it all the time. And now, like, yeah, his mom's like, I don't know what to do. He just does it. He just does it all the time. Once you discover it, you can't like erase it. So now we don't know what to do.
So sad.
It's tragic.
Because now that, like, she used to take him places and go do things. And now she's probably like, I can't.
She can't, because he's going to have his hand in his pants.
We can't just, like, go to a park anymore.
Or go to the zoo. Be around kids. Can't be around kids if you're going to do that. Oh, yeah, that was really sad.
Yeah.
And that's, like, also, for him, that must be torturous. Because now that's something that, like, an itch he wants to scratch all the time. And he never did before.
I know that there could be, like, issues with this, but that's, like, where I wonder, like, getting your tubes, not tubes tied, but getting the vasectomy kind of thing.
They can do, like, chemical castration, where that would, like, kind of cut off your hormone. They do that too. This is not the same thing, obviously, but they do that to, like, repeat offending pedophiles in some justice systems, because it turns off their sexual urges.
Yeah.
They don't want anything anymore because they don't have that going on. And honestly, like, hormonal intervention with someone of Derrick's level, wherein it is so damaging for him to have that, I'm sure that's a discussion that they could have with his doctor. I don't know if chemical castration is the way to go, but, like, if there is suppressant medication, like hormonally, if there's a way they could be like.
I think that is I think they sometimes do put you on medication for that. Yeah. I think I've heard.
It would, I mean, I think that for him, it's humane.
Yeah.
It is not causing any good outcomes in his life. Not a one. There's nothing good that's come of that. Why do you need it? He's 40 now. No. So.
Ugh.
I know. It's
so sad.
It's pretty rough. Okay, you guys. That was our not brief, but could have been longer version of this story. If you want to talk about it more, please get into our Facebook group. I feel like there's a lot more to say, and there's probably things that you guys.
Well, see, now you guys not only know the documentary portion, but you know other things.
Yeah.
So you could be the really smart one at the party. And
you definitely
can go through as much research as Holly did.
No,
Congratulations.
I read a lot of stuff.
You did it.
We all did it.
For the same length of watching the doc, you got a lot more information.
You got like 3 times what was in the documentary, plus our colorful commentary.
Sure.
That's what you're paying for here.
Oh, yeah.
You're paying no dollars for.
Yep.
Also, you can listen to this in your car. Can you watch a documentary in your car? You shouldn't.
You sure can.
You sure shouldn't, though.
If you're a passenger princess, you can.
Not if you're driving. Toast.
Toast.
Clearly to Daisy and John, who are amazing fucking family members and advocates. May we all have people like them in our lives.
Yep.
That was a good one.
To that lawyer guy, the guy that did the
magic trick. Oh, Dr. Shane from Harvard.
Yes.
Yeah, he's fucking great too.
Yeah.
Cheers to him
and his illusions.
Yes.
And then to Derrick.
Oh.
Yeah.
But not Anna. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And if we asked our fathers to make us little crutches so we could pretend to be little tiny polio victims, we would be dead. And we would deserve it.
Yeah. We'd have polio. So.
No, we have fake polio.
I know.
Bye!
Thank you for listening to the We Would Be Dead podcast. Hit subscribe now to never miss an episode. Rate and review our show on iTunes. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Would Be Dead Pod. And join our Facebook group to discuss the podcast and more.
Love a fucking diaper. Yes. So cozy.